Okay, minutes of the meeting. We have a summary of the minutes. I will accept a motion to accept the minutes or make changes. George, made the motion. Need a second?
I haven't read them, I'll second.
Okay. If you find any corrections in between, let us know. Okay. Motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Okay, Alan, would you tell us, we have new board members, so.
All right, I'd like to introduce our new board member, Brian Hinckley. Brian comes from the Halsted Great Bend area, business owner, entrepreneur, several businesses, and is an upstanding citizen in the community, does a lot for the community, so I'm pleased to have him on the board with us.
Okay, Brian, tell us a little bit about your business and your background in Susquehanna County.
Our businesses are into the real estate rentals. I'm in the restaurant business. We've got storage malls. We have apartments, as I stated, and the family has a motel. Pretty much everything in the Halsted Plaza. I run a division for Susquehanna Corporation, which we're located on Route 11 in Great Bend Township, next to the PennDOT State Building. It's a little overview of what we do.
It sounds like you keep yourself busy.
We try.
Yes, I'm sure you do. Okay. Well, thank you. We welcome you on the board. Mary Ann just walked in. Would you tell us something about Bill Kelly?
Bill Kelly owns Taylor Rental on Route 29, South Montrose. He also owns VX3, which has to do with leasing and things out to gas companies. Another business, another arm of Taylor Rental. Due to the increase in gas drilling in Susquehanna County, he's been able to bring on many more people in his Taylor rental business and offer them benefits, which he could never do before. Pay them at a higher rate and be able to offer benefit packages to them, which he's very proud of being able to do now because of the gas drilling in the county. So, his business has grown tremendously, and he's on his way to Florida. He was on his way yesterday, so sorry that he can't be here today.
Okay, very good. Well, we thank both of you for getting the, for getting the two members on the board. We appreciate that. We will move on to our agenda. Annex Mountains Hospital first.
We're involved with the hospital project through the Redevelopment and Capital Assistance Program grant that the hospital received, which is $4 million. So at our last meeting, which was just a couple weeks ago, we have an architect's field report if you'd like to take a look. They're about 25% complete. Steel's all up. Roof set. There's some photos that document what's going on.
Okay, well, that's good. Thank you.
I think there's copies, everybody can take a look at it.
Okay.
I don't know if there's enough, but it's all right.
There's a couple more, I have it. Another one has photos and everything as far as completion, percentage of completion.
I should have recognized Mike Armiak from Bluestone Gathering as attending our meeting, and
Jerry Peck from Peck Precision.
Mike Precision. Okay, very good. Thank you.
Jerry, you're just basically here to sit in and get a gist of what we're doing?
Yeah, pretty much want to see.
Or do you have something?
Not familiar with.
Do you have anything to present?
No, not to present. Just that I'm a manufacturing business and just wanted to see what you guys do. I've done stuff for the gas companies, repair work and stuff like that, but just wanted to see what you guys are involved with. And
Okay. Okay. I'll ask you if you have any questions now.
Okay.
See if you your new face here. Okay, on the Oakland Hydro plant.
Yeah, just a quick update on the Oakland Hydro plant. What happened was I did receive some early estimates. I went up and looked at it, met with the individuals up there in Susquehanna and Oakland, and got some preliminary cost estimates, if you will, of what they think it's going to take to not only maybe potentially repair the plant, but to look at early engineering, to look at feasibility of that. And I've been looking at trying to find funds to do that. That's how I said I'd interact with them and help them with trying to bring that hydroelectric plant potentially back online. So we're working on it, looking at programs, and I'll get back with them hopefully very soon.
I can update you a little bit on that,
Yeah.
Tony, too. I'm a board member with River Bounty, so we had a meeting last week. And just to give you an idea, the community owns the dam and the hydro plant, but they've leased it to River Bounty. So River Bounty is the leaseholder. And so, of course, the dam breached and blew out in the center. The electro house was flooded, but the motors themselves, they feel are okay because they're sealed units. They're probably $750,000 for the motors themselves, for the generation motors. They have one company that's come forward that was interested, and it's basically what this is, it's like an insurance company that goes around and buys hydro plant dams and hedges them that, you know, in the future they'll be able to buy them and turn more of a profit. They came in with their initial proposal. They wanted River Bounty to put up $100,000, and they put up $500,000 to repair the dam. And of course, all of us are saying there's just no way for that kind of money you can go in and repair that dam permanently for you know, $600,000 and get the electric plant back online. You know, it's gonna take a lot more money than that. And so basically what River Bounty's done is sent a message back to everybody saying, listen, this is what we want. River Bounty wants somebody to come in and permanently repair the dam, get the electric plant online. The electric generation will go to the company that goes in and does the repair. River Bounty wants a 10 to 15% royalty on the electric that's coming off on the gross. So they're gonna try and market it that way. If not, then it's probably gonna be, could end up being a dead project. The other problem you have with it is the electric generation from the dam could be in jeopardy as to the value of it because of the megawatt facilities they're putting in with the natural gas to create electricity, which will drive the price of electricity way back down, meaning that there won't be enough of a value to get the return on investment off the dam.
You know, it's interesting. I mean, the dam is about 1.5, give you some perspective. The dam's about 1.5 megawatts, I think. It never generated that much, but I
Right.
think it had capacity
Right.
for about 1.5 megawatts. The proposals that we know, the Liberty in Bradford and then the, down Lycoming County, the Patriot plants, are about 900 megawatts each. So, you know, you're looking at a substantial volume of, you know, combined cycle, close, you know, generation that, again, if it does drive the price down, of course, it has to do with cheap fuel. Hydro's very cheap, but it has to do with the amount of money it's gonna take to bring that plant back, you know,
Right.
for, as far as payback goes,
Right.
so.
And the size of the plant that it's gonna be when they bring
Right.
it back, the most it could be
Right.
is 1.5.
There needs to be a pro forma kind of developed along those lines, and that's where the company that would take it would look at a pro forma to determine its, you know, its that capability. Their initial estimates were several million at $3 to $4 million, and
Right.
the initial cost just to evaluate it was about $75,000 from what they told us. So, you know, if that's the case, you would think that a company that's in that business could assess that without spending a lot of money, without just kind of looking at that and determining it.
I think the problem they've got is it's so small compared to all the other hydroelectric plants they've got, that it's so small that it's not really on their radar to even look at. I think that's the
Now,
problem.
correct me if I'm wrong, originally it was something that would help the hospital. Is that what
Right,
that would
well,
get?
what it was gonna do is, you know, it was selling electricity back to the hospital, so the
Right.
hospital and the borough could benefit from it.
Right, because they were the big
Right,
leaders.
they were the big users.
Yeah.
But, you know, if the hospital puts in a gas generation plant itself, it won't need.
Well, along those lines, we are looking at a number of, you know, smaller, if you will, generation facilities that have interest in this area. We've got industries now talking about cogen. They never did that before because the fuel's cheap. And that's, you know, it's kind of come full circle. And when, even in the medical world, we're looking at generation for medical records, which is a huge industry now. You know, there's a lot of electronic records. If you can reduce your energy costs, that's another use, so.
Yeah, I know, like, you know, and the technology's there, you know, it's like Corning High School in Corning, New York. They buy no electricity off the grid, it's all generated by gas.
Yeah, I've looked at Waverly High School in New York. They have, they do generation, they use gas. It's an older, you know, there's, I think, 4 big V8s that are in series there. You run 3 and you have 1 for if one goes down, you know, you have to have 1 extra one. But we looked at that, and they actually do cooling too, you know, with it too, so with the transition on that. And we also originally looked at, in Western New York, there's a company that's done quite a bit of generation from diminished gas wells. These are older vertical wells that didn't have the pressures to really transmit, but enough pressure to generate electricity, and they've been very successful putting like 1 to 15 megawatt generation facilities on those individual wells, and that's another specialty. That it's kind of interesting. That's come from a lot of places, countries where they in need of a lot of electric. Third world countries. This company worked in Africa and other places. So there's a lot of opportunities that I think they'll generate.
Well, I just wanted to update you on River Bounty as to where that was.
Thank you.
What was going on.
Okay, DEP.
Oh, on the DEP update, on the Bendix plant, there's some exciting things. I think I mentioned last time that we sort of broke through a little bit and had a great conversation with DEP about the Bendix facility and where they were with it. Since that time, I had a further conversation with people from Honeywell. They're out of the Delaware office, and they were able to express a lot of interest in our organization. They really didn't know that we existed. They really didn't know what, they've been working on, obviously, remediation at the site, 60-acre site, but most recently got a call from another company that was interested when they saw that the buildings were being raised there at the facility. This company had interest in potentially, what's going on there, what's going on with the site, are they interested in doing anything? And I knew that originally that, in talking to DEP, I was made aware that they were close to remediating the site to a point where it could be removed from the Superfund sites. They're doing that themselves, and the reason why they'd like to do that is because it's very difficult. Now the Superfund has been cut. It really only goes to projects that are really an immediate threat to community health. This is not that situation. So they're looking at remediating it to a point and then adaptively reusing it, potentially leasing it, selling it, or whatever. I talked to a gentleman with Honeywell, and he was very excited about it, gave our information, and wants to form a relationship with him. What I told him is I said, listen, there's opportunities here that we could, quote, enhance the site. Maybe there are state incentive programs that could be utilized to draw someone into that location and create jobs and investment at that location. And again, he was very receptive to the idea. He said he was going to meet with his superiors, and that I told him quite clearly that we'd be happy to meet him here, or even go to their site and meet and talk about what we might be able to do for that site. And I said it's an absolute home run if we could get something done there. So I was surprised by it, to be quite honest with you, because we have had very little capability of trying to break that veil. He mentioned the guy that we lost contact with in California, but he's still actively involved in some way. But just to let you know, I'll keep you posted. I'd love to have them come here and maybe meet with us and talk about how we might be able to form a partnership and go forward with that site. I even expressed the interest in the fact that some people have interest. I've been approached that they would, if they knew what the costs were to complete remediation there, they would acquire the site and assume that cost. Okay, I think the site has that kind of merits. That's a number that I don't think anybody has finalized yet, and that would be all also go into the value of the site and be have to be negotiated out of it to do that. So I'm excited about it, and I think we'll move forward with it.
Okay, good.
And as far as the Superfund site that's there, how many years has DEP been working on it, remediating
Oh,
it?
it goes
do you know?
back to the 70s, man. I
To
have
the
a file
70s?
statistics, yeah. It's
So right now, we're up to what, 2012? Is it 2012? So 70s, how many years is that? 40 years that they've been working on it, trying to clean it up?
Well-
And they still haven't finished, from what you're saying?
Well, they're, and I can't speak to the technical element of it, but they are working on that and getting it remediated and not as an Act Two project, they're doing it internally with private funds. The problem is that the Superfund, from what I understand, they assign, DEP assigns a person to that particular project. And annually, I believe, those projects are reviewed at the federal level. They sit around a table and they hash out how funds are going to be distributed, so to speak. And this project does not rank high because of its circumstances and how they determine the threat to the as far as environmental threats. So it's moving forward. They're taking care of it. They're cleaning it up. We know that one of the bigger issues, I think, with the site is the dilapidated, the old buildings that they're now removing from the site. So
If we don't know, those buildings are totally gone.
yeah.
They are.
Not only the old part, but what we call the new part, the office section,
Yeah.
all down there.
We toured it years ago, and it was, I think, past redemption at that point, 4 or 5 years
There
ago.
was street talk that maybe the front offices would be salvaged, but everything is
Right.
Well, that's too bad.
I used to own property there in South Montrose, right near the Bendix plant, and we had water problems there. Do you know if any of the homes still have filtering systems?
I don't
There was a
know
whole
that.
plume around there of about 30 homes.
I'm
So
not
do you know
aware.
anything about that?
No.
Next.
Allsted Foundry.
Well-
Do we know who owns that now?
Well, we know that there's a group that still owns it, and that they are, and in talking to DEP, that group has committed to doing it themselves, okay? It's, again, we've been involved in Act Two projects, and I want to explain a couple of things just on site cleanups. One, our authority's been actively involved in working on old industrial sites to help them clean up. You can do it two ways. The owner of that site can move forward with cleaning those sites up at their pace, if they're stabilized, so to speak. And again, you'd have to talk to DEP more directly, but there's also another act called Act Two. And Act Two allows economic development groups, and it's a small category of individuals that can get actually title to the property, or beneficial use, or title to the property, and then apply for funds through DEP or the EPA to help clean the site up. We've done that on a number of occasions. The organization, like our authority, is held harmless because somebody has to take control of a particular site. We've done that on a couple of different projects. If you don't utilize public funds, and if you do use public funds, they don't want the owner of the site, who they consider, whether they were the person that caused the issues there or not, a benefactor. So if they still consider the person or the owners of it the ones who may have contaminated the site. So they don't want public dollars to go into something that would benefit them if they were to turn around and sell it. Okay, so what they'll do is they allow the transfer of the property to a neutral party, so to speak, that's not held as a liable party. Allow public dollars to come in, remediate the site, and then turn the site over for an adaptive reuse to someone else. Okay. In both the Bendix and the Halstead site, they're being pursued, monitored by DEP, overseen by DEP, but being pursued with private dollars, not public dollars. So that's the difference in those two projects. Just want to make you aware of that.
The CNG seminar?
Yeah, coming up, we got a call from the DEP. We've got some, and I don't know what this, there's two different regions. Obviously, we cover two different regions, but Act 13, obviously, there was a special chunk of money that was cut off the top of the impact fees, and these dollars are going towards a natural gas vehicle seminar. This one's being held in North Towanda. I would suspect that this region will announce one here very soon, but to let you know that these dollars are being released for conversion of fleet vehicles to go into CNG. There's the agenda, and they're going to talk about it, but again, that's ongoing, and again, aside from the county's portion, this is a separate fund that you can apply for through DEP to convert vehicles. It can go to municipalities, businesses. We did note that there is one thing in there that seems to be a little bit questionable, and that's their Turnpike Commission can apply for it, so it looks like they're gonna be converting some vehicles. So hopefully, they don't take the majority of the funds, but it's good news to see us move in a value-added realm.
The grant cycle will open up, I believe it's actually November 1st, the date of the seminar, and applications are due by February 2nd, I believe, beginning of February. So then the grants will be announced in March this year. So.
Okay, NEPR.
Okay, as part of, part of the prep, the partnering, the states kind of got everybody at the table. We're looking at partnering with NEPR. If you're not familiar with the Northeast Pennsylvania Industrial Resource Center, and in fact, I will have them at one of our meetings here in the near future. We haven't had a lot of interaction with them. They've had a lot of activity in the, if you will, in the east, far east as far as Scranton, Wilkes-Barre, and they are looking at trying to, even though they claim these territories, they are looking to try to upgrade their use of their services in our area. They have a number of different services that they provide. I work closely with them. We're working with a contract. It's a way that we can increase our prep allocation through the state. And I think what I'll do is maybe by our next meeting, invite Eric Soda, who's the executive director of NEPR, and have him come here and talk to us about it. One of the things that they're asking us to do is to lead a horse to water, to work directly with businesses that have interest, to take them to those businesses, have them meet the owners, since we have some relationships with different businesses in the region, and let NEPR talk about the kinds of things that they may be able to do for those businesses. So just strengthening that relationship, because I know there's been questions, and I know even John, you had some comments last time as far as, increasing utilization of NEPR, their presence in this region, even though they claim that they have Susquehanna County as part of their territory.
Okay, well, you got somebody doing that.
Yep.
Worthwhile. Okay, the municipal officials summit, summit.
A little bit,
The Northern Tier is putting on their 3rd annual Marcellus Shale Municipal Officials Gas Summit. We're co-sponsoring the event. It's November 14th, from 8:30 to 12:30 at the Wysox Fire Hall. The keynote speaker will be from the PUC regarding impact fee dollars and how it will affect municipalities. We also have a few panelists that will attend to discuss distribution with Marcellus Shale Gas. We have Russ Miller with Leather Stocking, he'll be attending, as well as Maureen Ball with Energy to discuss their pipeline. So they will be there. I do have some invitations.
Another thought, and I don't know if we can facilitate this too. I would think it'd be very useful to have, and I don't see how this goes, because the PUC, a municipal officials meeting here in Susquehanna County. And the reason is that my concern over the impact fee is that each municipality is sort of on their own. And we've had this discussion that they need to understand, even though we're working on implementation plans, they need to understand, the specific uses and how they have to sort of certify to those uses if they utilize those dollars. So having a PUC official there is very important, because they're the overseers of the program, and we'll look into that. Let's see if we can facilitate something. This is just something that's dovetailing on something that they've done for 2 years now, and this will be the 3rd year that they've done it. So maybe we can extend it. Yeah, we're going to attend, and maybe we can extend it into.
County commissioner, is that a county commissioner, attendant?
Northern Tier.
Or is this just for townships and whatever?
Well, I'm on Northern Tier's board, so I'm right
Oh,
on
okay.
I think the intent is they are looking at trying to extend it to municipalities. Originally, the first 2 meetings were municipal official meetings that talked, it was more along the lines of issues that surround the natural gas industries and impacts to municipalities. This has a more of a focus on the impact fee now. So
Okay, well, that's good. We're looking for that information. Our progress authority.
Yeah, I wanted to provide you guys with copies of it. And the reason why is I'd like to discuss some of the elements. Some of them are internal that may not be useful to you, but what I'd like to do is, as I'm doing with our other boards, is once you go through the fundamental narrative that talks a little bit about how we've evolved as an organization, we're looking at 8 key elements as a result of this internal effort to try to look at where we should be, what we want to be going forward. Because we've grown substantially since '93, and we don't really represent what our original articles of incorporation were. We've modified ourselves to meet the needs of the communities and the counties and all that. But so we're going to take a hard look at our organizational articles of incorporation and bylaws to make sure that we can upgrade those. And then we're looking at organizational sustainability long-term. We want to make sure that we're around continued strength and infrastructure. As our counties need infrastructure, we need to focus on that. These kind of boiled out of all the things that we discussed. We're looking at, for the first time, an involvement in housing, how we might be able to get involved in housing. Look at market housing. There's a demand. We've been told time and time again that there's a need for market housing in our area. We're linking a number of community people that come for businesses and industries into other markets outside of Susquehanna County and Bradford County. And we are looking at now trying to maybe put some kind of a housing plan together. That may mean that partnering with organizations that are in that business, trying to find our role in it, but it's been clear to us that we need to be actively involved in that. We've reviewed our revolving loan fund structure and guidelines. That's something that I want to make sure that you're clear that we're looking at trying to combine our funds. We've got board members and the state convinced that it's probably a good thing that if we take the enterprise zone program dollars that have been generated in both counties and combine them, it'll make a substantial fund that'll be useful throughout all of Susquehanna and Bradford County. There's several $1 million for many years that have been built up in the enterprise zone programs by both counties, mostly in Bradford, since we just got into the enterprise zone program here in Susquehanna. But what's important is the fact that the enterprise zone program under this administration is going away. So we got to find ways to strengthen that. The other thing that we're going to be doing too, and we'll talk a little bit about, is we're looking at trying to put a Keystone Communities application together for including Susquehanna County, and we'll talk about that. We are continued and committed to looking at post-secondary education as a key component to this county and our region, as far as strengthening it and making sure that it's available to people, because we see that as a key element. And then auditing. Auditing is an issue everywhere. This is really something that you don't really have to get too concerned about or understand, but internally, we needed to develop internal controls. We're a small organization with only 3 people and a couple different boards that we answer to. But we want to make sure we get our audits on time. That's a struggle for all municipalities and communities now, is getting audits done timely and all that. So we will be caught up by the end of this month completely on our auditing, but more importantly, we want to make sure that we stay on target so that we get annual audits together. We do contract for them. We do get them done independently. But what's most concerning about audits is not the numbers. The numbers are the easy part. It's the compliance standards that take auditors forever to peel through because of some of the things that have come down with Sarbanes-Oxley and some of the more recent legislative pieces. So as an organization, we've had to spend a substantial amount more money on auditing, and we also have to have internal controls that take a lot of time to make sure that you're doing things with both public dollars and make sure that they're done correctly. So again, it's an internal thing. It's something I want to make you aware of that we are focused on, and it's something that is an issue wherever you go. But if you go through the action steps, you'll look through this, and one of the things that I wanted to do was at some point sit down with our board members individually and get their comments. And I'd like to do it on an individual basis so that people are candid and open and they talk to me about maybe action steps that we can take and then resources that we could look for to help us with this overall plan to move forward as an organization as we kind of modify ourselves and morph into what's most useful to the counties that we serve. So didn't want to spend a lot of time on that, but I will when and take a look at it and call me, and we can do this over the phone, we can do it with emails, I will meet with you directly, whatever it takes. I'd like to get that input and incorporate it into this.
Okay, very good. The leather stocking, how far are they? What's their,
Well, we know that they got approval, we know that, that they've received approval and that they're moving forward with their, you know, with their plans to pull a trigger. Have you got anything new from Russ recently, other than the conversation which I'll tell them about, I had last week, as far as their plans?
No, I know they're looking at the Montrose area between the hospital, the school. That was really,
The
Okay.
last I had with him was, right now they're in the process of working on getting to the municipalities so they can go out and start canvassing, you know, for usage, so they can start figuring out, you know, areas that they're gonna go into. I know they were looking at, trying to meet with, Blue Ridge School again, trying to, you know, get them on board so that they can bring the line off the hill down into New Milford that way. If they get to school, they'll go bring them into New Milford that way. So I know he's working on that. I have talked to him about the Great Bend area, you know, about the T they've already got on the laser line, about trying to get that service going, get it over into the plaza and get that area going. So I know he's, you know, trying to get plans together and get communications out. He's got to meet with, you know, the municipalities and get permission to go out and canvass the areas and things like that. So-
Well, on that note, on that municipal note, one of the things that, the reason why they're bringing him into this official meeting is that when we had gone to New Mexico to look at a number of things, value-added utilization of natural gas, the best benefits our area, you know, as we had said, the distribution was pretty heavy. They said there wasn't really any farm that didn't have distribution. It could be used for heating, it could be used for grain drying, a number of things. So what they're trying to do is bring in the municipalities to discuss with them, you know, how they may be able to partner with the municipality to bring distribution, if it's feasible, into those different municipalities in the county. The other thing was that last week, 2 weeks ago, I got a call from a lady from Elk Lake School District. Her name keeps eluding me.
Kim.
What's it, Kim? Yeah, let me give you an example. What's happening is Elk Lake is evaluating, they need new boilers, okay? They need to upgrade their boilers at that location, and they're really evaluating whether they could convert them to a natural gas facility. The irony is they have a well on their property, and they've been kind of indicated that it really would be difficult to try to hook them up. And the real reason that it's difficult, and I sort of got some additional information with that, is that nobody really wants to have, especially a school, sole sourced. If there's just one well producing, if that well needs to be serviced or goes down, you'd be without heat, okay? So there's a couple different ways that you can go. I talked to Cabot briefly about it, but I did talk to Leatherstocking about it, and Russ Miller is investigating the possibility of a couple different options. They can provide service. The PUC allows service to be provided to one user. In this case, it would just be the school. That'd be okay. The problem is you have a sole source of service. You could look at a potential dual fuel facility. You maybe, you know, have a couple different fuels as a result. That would take care of that problem if the well didn't function or was being serviced or something along those lines. Or you could take a harder look at the area and look for an interconnect. Some sort of, like the laser line, some sort of location where there was a multiple of wells that service that area, that you wouldn't have that concern anymore. Russ said it's possible. Now, I don't know about the having that location, but he's looking into with his superiors about providing and double overlapping with Cabot to provide Elk Lake School with natural gas as a facility. So we're looking into that and seeing if it's an opportunity to be the first time we'd see that happen here. But outside of the typical distribution elements, okay, having one on the property, so it's good news.
That's very good.
Tony, how much of a territory does Leatherstocking have as a?
Well, when they filed their licensure or their franchise, it's clear, it identifies every single community, is there 14 municipalities or 17? I can't recall. I have that. It's publicly available. I can forward that to you because it lists.
Would it be on their website maybe?
It may be. But I have that information. I can provide it to you.
It's been several places, I've seen it several places.
Yeah.
It's not the whole county though, it's just.
No,
it's-
you have to have access to the whole reason why it's to the north in Montrose is because of the access to to the resource, to the gas.
They had a name specifically,
Yeah.
where they were gonna go. It
I
was
saw the
just,
map.
this
It was
wasn't
down
blanket.
Down to the 11 quarter and
Yeah.
across.
I can get you, you know, if you have, we can forward that to you.
Yeah, I know it's somewhere, so you can get that. Okay. Our
Also,
Susquehanna.
if it helps, Bluestone's in negotiation with Leatherstocking for possible interconnects as well in this area.
Good,
Great.
okay, good information.
So exciting.
Okay, our Susquehanna County basic.
Yeah, it's been submitted, it's the last one, moving forward, and we can move right into the Keystone Communities, so, and I'll talk a little bit about that. That's something that we like to do. We don't want to lose traction, even though the Enterprise Zone program, which was very, very, very useful over the last, 15, 20 years, is now sort of going away, and the resources for that are going away. And to give you an idea of what it's been able to do, typically what happened was when we set up the Enterprise Zone here in Bradford and Susquehanna County, we had to look hard at land use. We looked at the Route 11 corridor, looked at the 81 corridor. We looked at public utilities, where they were located, and determined by very strategically delineating areas that we thought were best ripened for business development in the region. It's worked. It worked substantially. We were able to get a couple of different grants that substantiated the local revolving loan fund that was here, competitive grants. So what we wanted to do was now transition that, if it's not going to be available, into what they call the Keystone Communities Program. Keystone Communities Program does not come with the need to focus and delineate specifically. It'll designate the entire county, but it also doesn't come with all the bells and whistles, dollars, so to speak. What it will provide us, though, is a number of different things that I think may be useful to us going forward. And those are things like state programs. What state programs are left through the Department of Community Economic Development programs, we will get preferential treatment with that. Okay, they'll say, hey, if you're looking for a PETA loan or any of the program, any of the infrastructure projects that programs that still leave, we'll be able to do that. It is possible that we might be able to link up with some other funding sources, but also some tax credit programs that could be useful. We're now, the door is open again for the Keystone Opportunity Zone, and maybe something that we want to look at as a group, some key properties in the county that could be given tax credits for job creation and investment that's made in those locations, okay? So there's some benefits to it, and I think that having the Enterprise Zone will give us a leg up on getting that designation as an addition to what we're doing. So we're working with the DCD people. We've talked to them on a couple different occasions. I know Lauren has, I have, and we're looking at trying to get this special designation so that we can continue to move forward as a county that wants to create jobs. And
Is it a county that could get a designation?
Yes, it's the
Could
entire.
Could a community, just a community seek it out, or?
Yes,
Like a larger community?
yes, they can. And I was looking at trying to get the entire county into the program.
Okay, very good.
And
We'll keep
if
that.
anybody wants, I can forward you copies of this. It's readily available online. I mean, you go to the DCD website, you can look at Keystone Communities Program, and there's a number of programs within that, okay, that you have to look at too.
Okay, look at that. Okay, demographics.
Well, one of the things that we continue to get demand for is requests for, specific demographics about the impacts of natural gas in our region. Now, you know that we've done some specific studies. They were kind of a snapshot in time as far as, what's been spent, job creation, all that activity. Actually, there was that workforce one that was done originally, and then there was one done on the economic impacts. But going forward, the demographics, as I continue to argue, the fact is that our demographics aren't good for this region. They haven't kept up with what's out there. I've asked MCOR, which is the Marcellus Shale group that, Tom Murphy, he's been around, done a bunch of different things, and Penn College to aggregate some things. What I mean by that is, a lot of this data is in different studies in different places throughout the state, in different organizations. I'd like to aggregate it and put it together for our area. And they agree that it's in fragmented forms. It needs to be put together in something that's a little bit more understandable and usable and not very extremely specific about a particular criteria. Maybe I'm not being clear, but the point is, if you try to look that stuff up, it's in all different pieces, all over the places. And we continually get requests, not only from businesses and interested parties in our region, but from other states. We recently just got a request from North Carolina, we got some other, and they are in Ohio as far as, impacts and information along that demographic. So we want to work closely. We're looking at trying to find ways to get that information. And did you have that one? And we have the one strategic piece that just came out from, and we can email that to you
Yeah,
too.
so labor and industry report on the Marcellus Shale counties and how they've grown over the past, I think it was just the year.
Yeah, it was just the last year. Labor and Industry just came out with a new report, but again, it's isolated data, and I wanted to try to get something a little
There
broader.
was an economic study that came out yesterday. It was an update of the 2008 economic study that was done on the gas industry.
Right.
And it was done by the University of Scranton, King's College,
Yeah.
Wilkes College, Commonwealth Medical College, and Keystone Junior College. And what they did was took the data that they had determined in 2008 and updated it for 2011. And I didn't finish reading it all, but it was a very interesting reading. I got it yesterday.
Well, the element is, the good news is that we have a history now. We have history that can be called upon to, it's like doing a budget with history. So things will become a little clearer. We also received, I got two couple different articles, but here's one that George had forwarded to us regarding some of that data that has come out about for drilling good for economy as long as it's in your county. And it's a useful article. Do you have copies for everyone? I think it's something to take a hard look at. And again, it's along the lines of the data we're talking about. It's starting to come clean as far as our understanding of the impacts.
Okay, and finally, the impact fee implementation.
Yeah, we're looking at trying to wrap this up. We are working closely with trying to identify a process by which the counties, commissioners can make decisions on utilization, both internally on county projects and potentially identifying, what the sources are, how the funds are to be used specifically by the PUC, and maybe an element for criteria to evaluate projects. And we're kind of growing, we're getting close on that. We've got some more, we've made revisions, and there's some things that have to be done to make it usable. But it's kind of cutting new ground. It's something that I'm glad we're doing, because it's going to clarify some things. But again, it's a first time effort.
Okay. Do our members have any questions?
I don't know.
Jerry, do you have any
Yeah.
questions?
Well, I do have one question.
I have a guest here.
Yep.
Do you have any dealings with HubZone?
Oh, at the federal level?
Yeah. I know they pulled it in our county.
Yeah, and I in the past, we didn't qualify. It was difficult to get it. And I'm a little, I know they came out with some new criteria. I think there's something new coming out on the new federal fiscal year, which is now. And if there was way, and I'll take a look at that for you, I know. Because in the past, we've looked at new market credits, HubZone qualifications, and they provide federal tax credits, things of that nature too. So let me work on that. Let me find out some more about it for you. But in the past, we didn't qualify, but they may have reevaluated that.
Well, what they did, we used to be, if I recall, because we were part of the HubZone, and that's what helped me like get in with Sikorsky and things like that.
Oh, you mean as far as contracts, federal contracts?
Yeah.
Qualifications, okay, all right,
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah. Is that different from what you're?
yeah, it's a little different from what I was thinking, but
All right. Well, with that aspect, you know, I know that I think it's because of the gas industry, everything kind of,
Changed.
it helped the economy
Right.
in Susquehanna County, so therefore it kind of pulled it. So do you see anything with that, any way of it coming back of that, in that aspect?
As far as federal contracts, as far as getting.
Well, no, like just having the hub zone status, I mean, is it pretty much done for that,
I
for
thought.
this area?
It's a good question. I thought I saw something that recently talked about them reevaluating hub zones, okay? But I can't tell you right now, and I'll look into it for you,
Okay.
all right? But I think something crossed my desk that talked about hub zones.
Okay.
I'd like to make a comment too at some point.
Okay, we'd ask George.
George.
George, do you have anything that you want?
I'm here to thank you all for your support for our project. With your support, which came, well, in the early stages, well over a year ago, we were able to finally get the authority from the New York Public Service Commission to proceed. So we began construction in New York last Saturday and have been constructing here for some time. And we'll actually be flowing gas possibly as early as next week. That was before we knew about the nor'easter headed our way.
Yeah.
So weather's really important. But to give you some idea as to economic impact, we're in partnership with Southwestern Energy in this area. And in this region, over the next 3 to 5 years, our plans show that we could be investing over $800 million in the region. Our workforce, when we first came to you, we thought it would be about 300 workers, but because of delays, we've added additional workers. We're now at peak, we think we'll be up to 1,000 workers on the construction side. A month ago, we broke ground on a permanent operations and maintenance center in New Milford, a 10,500 square foot building. And that will be manned by 7 full-time people and up to 20 part-time people. And that'll be here permanently. And in terms of our estimate of use of local vendors, we think that's now will be in the $150 to $200 million range. So the impacts are large. We hope to have connections with weather stocking as well, so that there will be local gas service off our line. But without your help, we wouldn't be where we are today, and hopefully this can become a win-win for the area. Thank you.
Okay.
I'd like to ask a question of Mike. How many of the 300 workers are local people?
I don't have that with me, but we're hiring as many local people as we can.
So you don't have a percentage that you can give us of the 300?
Not right
Because most of the workers that I see, they look like they're from out of the area.
now. The way we do it is we go to the local union halls first, and once the local union halls supply as many of the skilled workers as they have, then we look outside. Some of the skills aren't available locally. I mean, we can talk about this later, but to the extent we can, we hire locally.
And what about union and non-union workers? Do you use union workers for the pipeline welding and all that?
Yes,
Only union?
yes.
Mary Ann and Alan, do you have any comments?
I just want to say that tomorrow is finally the groundbreaking for the housing in Milford,
Good.
which has been a long time coming.
How many units is that?
I'm not even going
So
to,
long.
I don't know, I can't remember.
Let's say 50 or 70, I can't remember.
I don't know. And then there's going to be more planned, more buildings, because it's, I think it's over 3 acres.
Yeah, good site there.
So it's going to be a great thing for New Milford and Susquehanna County. And the closing on the McCullum Road property that Tree Hat has housing is lined up for March. So we're looking at March of 2014 for that to be open. So,
Be finished. Pretty open. Okay.
and that's going natural gas to
Okay.
heat it, and the stoves, everything is going to be natural gas.
Now, who are the units for, the 50, 70 units?
Senior.
Seniors?
One in New Milford is all senior housing.
Southern Tier Plastics Factory.
Good.
I've been there, they've got it all ripped down, looks really nice now. So,
Now that it's gone.
now that it's,
Yeah.
Brian, do you have anything to,
Oh, I
do you
do
have any
not.
questions?
No?
Okay.
And I had some
Okay.
comments. Can I speak? I wanted to say that I sent you some emails, Mr. Ventello. I don't know if you got them, because I didn't receive any response over the past month. You were asked for the notice of violation for the Lennox water contamination area because of Cabot's wells.
What I wanted to do was first, I've been approached by a number of people regarding the last meeting that you were at, okay? In that you had come at the end of the meeting, number one, and that I'm glad you came at the beginning of this meeting simply because you got to see all the different things that the authorities and that the county is working on as far as economic development. The other thing I wanted to clarify was the fact that I made a number of points to you at that meeting regarding having looked very closely at a lot of the, you had indicated you had concern for Cabot Oil and Gas being Business of the Year, yet having violations, and notified you of the fact that I did look at those violations, and that of those 400 plus, I believe, that you had identified. And you had indicated you didn't know me, but you've been to these meetings on a number of occasions over the years. With that, I was informed that a number of people said that a lot of that information was edited out of your recordings, which concerns me that you're manipulating the information.
That is
for people.
totally false. I don't
Well-
edit at all the program, and I do it totally raw, and I've done his programs, all the
Okay.
other meetings, and
Well,
that's not true, so.
I appreciate it.
Did you look at the video?
Yes,
To
and
see if
and
anything?
the reception's missing, so.
Yeah, I did
Yeah.
too, and it looked like it stopped and then started again, and there was
Well, they
So,
could-
definitely.
my point being
Well,
is
I
that
didn't
it's-
edit anything out of it,
Well,
that was
and
the
I
whole thing.
appreciate it if you
I-
want to provide information to people regarding
I don't
what's
edit,
going
it's
on,
a
that
total
you
raw.
do it accurately. So,
Of course, it's accurate.
yeah, the
So-
other side of it was is that I don't know if the emails that you had sent me required any response. You had showed me 4 violations, I believe, of the 400 that you had identified.
We
You
had
identified
just
it with 400.
discussed only Stalter Well, that's the only one I sent you.
You had brought up over 400.
I did, but
somewhere.
when I said to you I was
Yeah.
going to send you
So-
something, it was
so I'm
only the
aware of it.
Stalter Well.
So I appreciate your emails and I'm aware of it.
Okay, I didn't realize that you got it, but I just wanted to say also, I have the determination letters. It took a right to know to get it, and it took 2 months to get the determination letters for the Stalter wells in Lennox that show that gas drilling has contaminated 4 homes, and it's being put on Cabot. They're responsible, so I have them here.
Were you able to answer the question I had as far as the determination between biogenic and thermogenic gas? Do you know what the differences are and what
Yes,
that-
I do.
Okay, so do you
What
know
is-
what those particular sightings are? Because it makes a big difference to me. If you're going to bring these issues to me, makes whether I'm going to pay. any
Well, this
attention to
is DEP, so they have determined Cabot to be responsible, and the people are getting water on a daily basis.
I just asked you a question, and I just.
So what is the question? What's the
Question is
difference? The
that-
difference is, they haven't made a determination that there's any difference. The thing is, there's movement of either biogenic or thermogenic gas, and if there's movement, it goes into the aquifer and changes the aquifer so that the people can't use their water, and the amounts of methane skyrocket, as well as other metals that are contaminating in the water. And this is determined by the DEP. So you can question them about it, whether they think thermogenic or biogenic is truly the issue.
Well, I'm not the person that's bringing these issues before the board, so my point being is that I think it's a job for you to do. And
I don't
would
consider it
think
an
that-
issue, you consider it an issue. I consider it they've been found guilty. Again, Cabot, so our water is being contaminated, and there's another group in Franklin Forks that's under consideration, investigation for over 10 months. And I consider that important. Whether you consider it important or not, I do. I'm a citizen who lives here, and I have to drink the water.
Don't discount what my concerns are, but what I'm trying to tell you is that this is an economic development group, we're working in the best interest of the county. I don't know why you're bringing these issues before us, what purpose you have, other than the fact that we're aware of them, and we're aware of a tanker flipping over on, 706, if that's the case. Okay, so ma'am, I think your issues are with the environmental agencies that oversee this.
I am in contact with them for 4 years.
Okay, great. Okay, anything else? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion adjourned.
Okay, second. Thank you.